We all have probably found ourselves at one point in our lives, or several points in our lives, asking ourselves, what's the point of all of this? What am I even doing this for? What's the reason behind all of this? And what we usually do is, first of all, as soon as that question gets asked, alarm bells go off. Like, you can't just casually really ever like throw that question out there. Immediately alarm bells go off. Like, this is a crisis, this is a moment of like just some emergency going on, and you know, the question itself is already like a huge indicator of like hopelessness, right? And I think to an extent rightfully so, right? Because even for myself, like most of the time, that's how I know, like, okay, like, you know, I need to take care of myself better, and I need to kind of, you know, center myself again, is when that question pops up and I ask myself, like, you know, I'm so tired, right? Like, it usually comes up in a time of like exhaustion, because you're pouring so much energy, so much of yourself into just life, and you're probably in a phase where you feel like you get nothing out of it. Like, all that there is like more work, more pain. Nothing really ever comes out of that. So I think to an extent it's valid that we do kind of, you know, look at that with a bit of concern, I guess, like genuine concern. But at the same time, I don't know why we treat that question so differently from any other question we ask. Because usually when you have a question, you're wondering about something, you research, you Google it, you talk to people about it, you want to find out more. But we consider the question answered as soon as it's asked. We ask ourselves, what is the point of all of this? And we immediately almost go to the answer of, there is no point in all of this. Why am I doing this for? For nothing, right? Stay with me. That simply just doesn't make any sense. Not because I say so, but ask yourself, whenever you have a question, do you just answer it like that? Like, why is something like that? Just because it is. Especially when it's something that is so important to, like, when we ask that question, it's an existential question. It's not just like a willy-nilly curiosity question. This is about our existence, like our purpose in life, like why we are even alive. Now go to any other question you ever have. Like, do you just throw it out? Maybe if it means nothing to you, right? And it just pops up. But usually if there's an interest in something for you, you go after it. You explore. We don't do that here. We treat the question itself as an illness, or like as a symptom of a huge illness. And I feel like it is so completely natural to find yourself at one point asking yourself what the point is. Now, whether that stems from a crisis or not, that's a separate issue. And of course, if you're in a situation where you do feel a tremendous amount of pain, you deserve all the support and all the help that you can get, right? I'm not saying just like stay in it and like whatever. Get the help that you need. But I don't think the question should be tossed aside. That is a problem in so many aspects of how we live our lives. As a child, you know how children are. Like, children ask questions about everything. They don't accept anything as given. Like, literally, why is the sky blue? Why are the clouds moving? Like, all this type of stuff. They have like a million questions, and they don't care about if it's annoying or not. They come into this world literally like, what the hell? like I can't make any sense out of this. And so what do? They ask, and they hope for answers, right? They ask adults, they ask each other, but they're exploring, they're curious enough to pose the question and go after it and ask it out loud. And I think over time we dismiss so many of those questions. Not just one as existential as that one, but just in general, we kind of kill the seed of curiosity as life goes on. And that seed of curiosity and that seed for knowledge when it comes to the purpose of life gets exchanged for a routine that is given to you, for a plan that was already made for you, a contract that was already built without you really in consideration. It's just kind of handed to you, and it's like, I know you have a whole lot of questions, but your life is going to be fine if you just follow this route. In itself, nothing wrong. If you resonate with that path, you can walk a path that's been walked before. You don't need to reinvent life. Like, I'm not saying that. But if you have burning questions for yourself, if you want to discover more for yourself, if you feel like there's more to life than what you've been doing, do not demonize the question that comes up. Do not demonize yourself. Do not infantilize yourself for asking that question. And I think why it's so hard or so easy to just put the question off, because the question is quite literally larger than life. You're literally asking, what even is life itself and why am I a part of it, right? But as with anything else, right? If you're scared of something because it's unknown, the more you put it off, the scarier it becomes. Because it just remains this untouched mountain that you can never climb if you never even try to walk it. Taking steps towards it is the only way to take the power away from that question. And not only is it to take power away from that question, I believe as long as you try to genuinely explore that question, you'll just realize that there's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to be afraid of. That question itself is huge, sure, but like, people have thought about it before. People have written about it before. You might have your own intuitions about it. You might have your own ideas about it that you can just go on and explore. And it might just pull pieces together that you didn't even know belonged together in the first place. It might just start making sense in a way you would have never thought it could make sense. The more you actually treat this question that is just a question, like any other question that deserves to at least be attempted to be answered, the more you treat it as such, the less it will come up in moments where you're already vulnerable, where you're already fragile. Because it just won't be this like tool of doom that drags you down further when you're already down, you know, when you already feel bad about something, pessimistic about something. It won't just be this forever unanswered question that just drags you down the pits of no coming back, because you will always answer, what am I doing this for? I'm doing this for nothing. I don't know how I started that question, that sentence, but like, it won't be that. Like, it won't be that tool anymore. It won't be something that can be used in those instances anymore, because you're trying to break it down. Like, you're walking down the path. And as any other question, I believe, it has answers. And the great thing about this one is, it will only have to make sense to you, because you will know what will resonate with you as you go on to answer that question. Because it's not really like, the purpose of life is not something that you can grasp, right? But it can be something, and it will be something that makes sense to you, and that instead of the question dragging you down, will give you something to hold on to when you're feeling bad. So I'm encouraging you, if you're watching this right now and you're asking yourself, what is the point of all of this? Ask the question, research it, go on a search, ask. You're not asking yourself the question for nothing. Don't doubt yourself like that. Like, things come up in yourself and they have a good reason a lot of the times. You don't have to fight everything that comes up. Not everything is just a sign of like being ill-adjusted. Like, I think it's so valid in like a world that is incredibly difficult right now to genuinely ask yourself, what are we doing? What are we doing? So ask and genuinely seek answers for the sake of yourself. It's because you owe it to yourself to like honor that curiosity, honor that hopelessness, honor that pessimism, and see if there's something out there for you that makes sense to you. Like, you owe that to yourself, okay? So next time you ask yourself that question, go on a hunt, go on a search, go look for it. Like, the answers are there, they're waiting for you. I promise you, you will find something that resonates with you as long as you're willing to look. As long as we live, we'll have questions, and as long as we live, we have the ability to try and answer them to the best of our abilities. And that's literally life. Life keeps going. And if you go with it like that, instead of fighting it and just being like over here and being like, you know what? This is for nothing. Everything will fall into place more, because you become a part of life's cycle like that, instead of all of a sudden becoming static and stagnant. Because the answer to what is the purpose of this is not nothing. I can assure you that. It's not nothing. Find out what it is for you, but it's not nothing. I hope this helped someone out there. I know it's very hard when we're in a very dark place and these questions come up, right? You might just simply not have the energy right now to answer that, because you're already at your wit's end. You don't have no energy left. And then the best thing you can do is just to be. And that's totally fine. I'm not asking you to exhaust yourself even further if you're that exhausted in the first place, right? I'm just asking you to not consider a question answered that simply has not been answered, that you simply tried not to answer before. Fine if you didn't so far, fine if you can't do that right now. Not fine if you just lie to yourself and jump to a conclusion. We don't do that. We try to answer. We go on a search. Okay? So let's keep searching. As always, take very, very good care of yourself. I love you so much. And I'll see you very, very soon. Bye!